Join me today as we explore Changi Jewel, fly one of the first Etihad A380s from Singapore, decide if the apartment is worth the money while dining on caviar and 7-Eleven before getting a spam call in the air. Today we start in the Changi Jewel, the forest and mall located right next to the airport terminals. This monstrosity makes Changi one of the most unique airports in the world. I mean, not only do they have a waterfall, but they have the trains for the airport running directly through the middle. How cool is that? Well, you're still not convinced? I mean, not only do they have all of that, but they even have Pilates down here by the waterfall. Now downstairs in the food court, there are a million choices for lunch. I decided to grab chicken and rice, which was delicious, before wandering upstairs to find a boba tea shop, which did not take long. Today I'm joined by a good friend, the Man. International, who is almost as crazy of a flyer as I am. Actually, he's probably more of a crazy flyer. After all, when flying first class, you need to enjoy it with someone else. If you're doing it by yourself, it gets boring quickly. It was almost time for the check-in to open, so we began the long walk to T2. To be honest, the Jewel is so big that I'm not even sure if we went the right way, but we headed to T1, and then took the people mover over to T2. Sadly, today's SkyTrain does not go through the Jewel, but it is a really cool experience, and I highly recommend, if you have the time, finding one of the people movers that goes through the Jewel and riding on it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, but in my opinion, as we passed the outside of the Jewel, it felt small, which is crazy because, I mean, we just saw the inside. It's massive. But yeah, it just feels really small on the outside. Once we arrived at Terminal 2, we found the flight departure board and obviously had to look for our flight to Abu Dhabi. Ah, there it is, EY499. Now, the check-in area for Terminal 2 at Singapore feels absolutely massive. Well, it turns out we were too efficient in getting over here, and the check-in wasn't even open yet. In fact, there were no economy passengers even queuing at the moment. So, we decided to head upstairs to do some more exploring and get a view of the check-in area. Could you imagine an airport like this not located in Asia or the Middle East? I mean, imagine Atlanta looking like this. I wish.
First class chicken?
For not us.
For not us.
Different first class.
Different first class.
Alright, so after getting a little bit of envy from the Singapore first check-in, we headed back to our check-in to find a long queue forming for economy. But of course, first class was empty. Now on this segment, we were in an apartments, but this is one of the first A380 flights from Singapore. So, how much does the residence cost? Well, we found out, 2,300 USD. So, did it get sold? Well, only 3 seats in first were taken prior to online check-in. None of us took the upgrade, but the entire cabin sold prior to departure, and the residence was filled. So that means a business class passenger managed a double upgrade, which I wasn't even aware was possible. After clearing security, we headed directly for the Ambassador Lounge, which Etihad premium guests are invited to access. I may have showered this morning, but after walking around Singapore, I needed another, so I went for a quick shower. It was decent for a third-party lounge, nothing to complain about. After the shower, I headed to the ultra-exclusive, special, reserved section only for those honorable residents and first-class passengers. Okay, so maybe it was just a roped-off section, but lounges get crowded, so this was a nice touch. But what was even nicer was the personal service. Quickly Moet champagne was brought to us along with snacks. I wanted to try the main dishes, but resisted. After all, I need space for the meal on board. In a constant effort to bring value to the channel, here's the Wi-Fi password, in case you're ever outside the lounge and you need it. I decided to briefly visit the outdoor deck of the lounge to do some plane spotting. I wasn't the only one here though.
not gonna lie to you, this was not that exciting. Oh, there's a Singapore Airlines plane. That's exciting. There's a plane taking off. Woo, planes!
I quickly decided to retreat inside though and get out of the heat and humidity, which Singapore is famous for. We went for a quick walk to stare longingly into the Qantas First Class Lounge, which we didn't have access to today, do some more plane spotting, and, of course, most importantly, pick up a 7-Eleven sandwich before heading towards our gate. As I got closer to the gate, I finally saw it, the A380. Etihad's majestic paint scheme was impressive to say the least. Isn't it a beauty? Now, if you weren't aware, security at Changi is done at the gate except in Terminal 4, so do arrive slightly early to account for that. Of course, the first class line was empty. Once through security, I got a closer look at our plane loading up the last of its cargo. This is Alpha 6 Alpha Papa Juliet, which was delivered to Etihad in 2017. What a beautiful plane. It can fit just under 500 passengers. And alright, it's time to board. For only having a maximum of 11 passengers between the residence and first class, the first boarding group was quite packed. However, we made it on board. Welcome to 3 Alpha, my home for the next 7 hours. Now this is a rear-facing seat, which you might think is a bit strange, but honestly it felt pretty normal and I really didn't think about it. Now, let's keep exploring this seat after drinking this glass of champagne. There are 3 windows, controlled individually or from your control center, a large TV, a long couch-like shelf that converts to your bed, and as you can see, part of the wall can be removed if you're traveling with someone. Now, there are multiple ways to control the lights, seat, and windows in this suite. I'll show you the bedside controls in a minute. There's also a mini fridge in every first class seat, which is really a nice touch if you don't want to have to ask for a water or soda. By the way, in case you're curious, they're serving Voss water. Now, sadly, my regular cabin Remova does not fit all the way underneath the underseat storage. There are no bins after all. The lights are very customizable, as you can see. There's also this huge mirror that you can use to get ready. I didn't take any video, so you'll have to enjoy this photo. So the IFE had a lot of content, but it was laggy, which honestly was kind of surprising. You know, I wouldn't expect this in a first class product. Yep, not really a big fan, but the cameras were cool. Well, that concludes our seat tour for now. Looks like it's about time for us to head off, so they've removed the jet bridge, they've put the divider back in for taxi and takeoff between the suites. Let's get going. So after takeoff, I open up my Wi-Fi card. First class passengers get free Wi-Fi on board, which is a nice perk. As I was getting connected, olives, nuts, and wasabi peas were served, along with sparkling water. Once the seatbelt sign is turned off, I head to the bathroom to get changed. Now this is the bathroom without the shower, and that'll be important later. But it's a nice size and has ESPA products. Now you might be asking yourself, where is the amenity kit review? Well, that is unopened, because one of you lucky viewers is going to be winning it when I hit 500 subscribers. To enter, just comment down below. Now, let's enjoy this caviar that's been served. Of course, you can't enjoy caviar without champagne and vodka, and the excellent crew are more than happy to keep my glass topped up. Now, it's great caviar, as well as salty fish eggs can be, I guess. I'll confess though, my favorite way to eat caviar is on McDonald's chicken nuggets. So, yeah, there you go. Anyways, after that shock, here's me eating it off my hand. Yep, tasty caviar. Now let's move on to some real food. I promise not to show you me eating anymore. Now, I went with the Arabic mezzamine, which was delicious, along with a white wine. Honestly, really great choice. You can't go wrong with this. Then afterwards, I had a palate cleanser before switching to a red wine and lamb dish along with steak. Now, wow, this was amazing. Super good. It is incredibly tough to get steak done right on a plane, and they blew it out of the water. Now, I'm stuffed and can barely eat. Oh, what's this? A 7-Eleven chicken cutlet? Well, I suppose I could. Honestly, I'd be happy if they served this on board. I love 7-Eleven food in Asia. Alright, it's bedtime. The crew made the beds and did a great job. Now, your IFE can pop out if you'd like to wash something in bed. Full warning, this is a very firm bed, so if you'd prefer something a bit softer, consider the Residence, or sleeping on top of the duvet. As you can see here, you still have seat and window controls even in the bed, conveniently located right there. Alright, now after a brief nap, because this was honestly a very short flight, I'm up to take a shower. If you'd like to see the shower in use, please consider subscribing to my exclusive OnlyFans. I'm kidding. It's nice. I mean, it's a shower in the air. You can't beat that. Although, to be fair, Emirates does have a much bigger and nicer shower. Now, there is a small bar on board, but honestly it wasn't that popular. When I was here, it was just me and a flight attendant watching the Miami Open. Alright, so you are able to call other seats on the plane. When I figured this out, I had to do it. I have friends on board. I need to call them.
Someone's calling me from 3A. Maybe I should answer it. Hello? You're calling me about my car's extended warranty. Yes, thank you. I do need to talk about my car's extended warranty, yes. You know, it's not a normal warranty as well, so I don't really know why I need extended warranty, but you know, it's good to know.
I really like the lighting in the cabin. It's very intentional and very well done. Alright, so as we begin our descent, what are my final thoughts on this? Now, it is a really nice product. Honestly, lots of space, some very cool amenities, fantastic food, wonderful crew. But how does it stack up compared to other first classes? We're talking Air India, Lufthansa, Air France, Emirates, Singapore, Global Airlines, which I haven't flown first. You know, it's a really solid product. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's the best. I think it's right below Air France La Première, and probably Singapore is slightly above that, as well as Emirates, kind of on the same tier as Air France. So, great product, but not the best. By the way, once we get to our gate and I unbuckle, I notice that the seatbelts aren't silver. Okay, that's impressive. But guess what? The best has yet to come. Check back for the second leg. Guess what's next? Anyways, thanks for flying with me.